Um, yeah, I'd like to say with the house of Atan means the ancient Tahuti teaching of the Neteru, and all Tuah and praise and worship to Tahuti that has the class every Saturday. Yeah, I just want to talk. Yeah, it's time for us to start coming out, man, because they're coming out. The Isfet and the chaos is coming out with what they're doing. It's time for us to start. Those that know Ma'at, the justice and the eye, which is something positive that these people that know that copied and plagiarized the ancient African sciences, but they're using it for so-called evil, which is the left hand side, the negative side. And if it is so-called evil in Isfet, why are most people doing it? Why are they hiding it? To the point where it's to the point with hand signals and handshakes and all these things and degrees all over the world. These fraternities are hiding. Well, let me just say that what Tahuti teaches, which is Anki and Ma'at, Un and S, Nin Te Oset and Ma'at, Min Hepapet and Ma'at, Her and Hui, Her and Kui, Per Iku. I live for Ma'at, I exist within her. I do not speak in the place of Ma'at. Every day I advance towards Ma'at. My being is surrounded in darkness. I come forth as conscious light. Yeah, so if it is so-called, just principles, and I know that's not true. From even in my ignorance, like Trudy said, the word ignorant means, and you can look for yourself in etymology. It means to turn away, to ignore. To ignore what? To ignore the truth. Even since I was younger, when I used to sleepwalk, when I was younger, at a young age, where I used to have upeshes or resi dreams, where I used to go under the water and be with people and partying and dancing with them under the water. And what was funny about it, not really funny, because my parents used to find me outside sleeping in the street. And I was told when my parents were on this physical plane of existence that the person that found me and brought me back into the house, he passed like a week later after that. And other things where my ancestors, our ancestors, used to take me into the resi, into the dream state, but it was a lucid state. I don't know if you remember when you was younger, or even talking to people, to children, because a lot of people don't realize that most of the rulers, the Pa'is, what the Greeks call pharaohs, were young children. They had pharaohs, Pa'is, up to the age of 7 and 8 years old. Yeah, why don't you answer that question yourself? Yeah, so the Pa'is, yeah, were at a young age that ruled. It was like the other day someone asked me about in Johannesburg, beautiful Johannesburg, was saying that blacks had nothing to do with the roadways that was built over there. and all that to do, I had to laugh because most of the inventions, majority of the inventions on the planet were created by indigenous people across the world. So I know that was just people just want to be haters as usual towards people of color, because we was under that frequency of Kemet, which means black, meaning the completion of all the colors. and that the sun, what we see is an optical illusion because the original color of the sun is black, which is Ra, according to our ancestors that were living beings, which the Greeks, like Socrates, Pythagoras, and these great people that sat at the feet of people of African descent and learned. Yeah, so I was going back. Yeah, so yeah, when I was younger, I remember my ancestors, and I believe it was Ptah. Used to take me and make me sata. I used to walk. I used to be flying, and took me all around the world. I went to Egypt. He flew me to China. I went to all the major places that around the world. And when I woke up, and I can even if you don't believe me, I can ask my cousin next time I come on. I do a live and ask her when I was like 8, 9 years old, and I came up my bed and I said, I just came, I just flew all around the world. And I bet you she would tell you what I'm saying is Ma'at, which is the truth. Even later on, even in my ignorance, so I mean, even though I was following the plagiarized version of the African science, which is Christianity, and I was sincere in what I was doing. I wasn't doing it, even though, I was sincerely trying to follow in the footsteps of Jesus, and yeah, and then eventually, even though I was still in that beastly state, but I was crying out. My car, that's what we call your double or your spirit, was crying out. I eventually woke up, where my ancestors, the same person I told you that was with me since I was younger, took me up into our sleep. Because you have to realize that a lot of these abductions are physical and spiritual. They're not only, yeah, there's 4 people. Can you just put the lights up? Because we're doing this for the children, for our offspring. That's what we're doing this for the future and for the present. Yeah, so he took me up. I walked out of my body, and I was inside a ship. And when I was inside the ship, he was there. That being, he was in all white, a dark-skinned man that was sitting across the table that was in the ship that I was in, and he told me telepathically. He told me, we spoke, mind to mind, transference, and he told me to go in the room. So when I looked behind me, I saw a light under the door, and I said to him, go into that room. It was like I hesitated to go into the room, but then he levitated me into the room. And when I went into the room, and at this time I still had a deep phobia of death, which is Maat. Now I know is our mother, which is the vagina is the portal, the gateway into this realm, and also into the Netica, what you call today heaven, what our ancestors called in the Per-Hemeru pet. Yeah, so I had that phobia, and I think it could be also because of a lot of my family members that were into a lot of fraternities, and they didn't know what they was into. That at that time was staying at my house. My father's uncle was a Rosicrucian, and my aunt was a Rosicrucian as well. Yeah, so when I saw the light behind me, I saw a light coming from under the door that that I remember I just said that I was in a ship what they call UAPs. And now the government across the world is coming out and telling you that these things are real. Yeah, they're saying that these things are real now, and I'm a living testimony that even though I'm saying what I'm saying now happened in the dream state, and a lot of people don't even know the dream state is more real than this world. And I love what Tahuti said. Tahuti Amanhotep Ra, that what he taught me was that we're not physical, liquid, and gas. Is they twisted it. We first are gas, then we're liquid, and then we're physical. So, and that is the time right now for you. The dream state, the upesh or the rezi, is the time for us to learn how to resurrect when in when after your final ejaculation. The word when it talks about the ejaculation of Ra, it's not talking about him. A lot of ignorant religious people say it's talking about masturbation. It's not talking about that. The word, look it up in the etymology.com. Go online and look it up. It means to eject, your final ejection from your body. Because the Holy Spirit. A lot of people say, "Oh, you got the Holy Spirit," but then they wanna so-called demonize. They want to so-called demonize. Yeah, they want to demonize the words. That's why you have to look. You have to do your research right now. You have phones. You have mini computers right now. You should use these things and go and do your own research now. Stop relying on people, especially stop relying on on people that you think that have authority because they wear a suit and tie, or because they speak well, or they have a degree. I answered all these degrees that they have now is been copied and plagiarized. All these degrees and sciences came from people of dark skinned descent, the indigenous people. So what I'm saying is that most of these things is not new. What I'm saying, because our ancestors spoke about these things all through Egypt, so-called Egypt, which is Greek. Because now you realize in these schools and educational system that's set up by the Illuminati, which you are, if you're still a part of that. That's what they're trying to promote. That they're the ones that originated it, when all they did was copy the African science, and then put their names on it and said that it was them, that the ones that did it. So right now you got a lot of people that's doing destiny swapping, a lot of people that's trying to are copycats. They're trying instead of you are the movie, not the movie that you go and watch when you watch you watch in a movie theater. You are the movie that most people are looking at. You are the original heroes, which come from the word Eru. So let me continue what I was saying. I'll be doing that sometimes and be going off the subject, but yeah. So when I saw my ancestor, when I was in the UFO, in my upesh, in my dream state, like I said before, which is the mediator between Maat, when you're deaf, and the physical world, and it's more realer than this world here. But what they want to do is they want to keep you occupied in this world, and don't want you to know that the dream state is more tangible than this world. What is it say? What is the saying that they say? Where your dreams come true. And that's where our dreams do come true first, in the dream state, and then it comes into the waking world. There's people if you do your research, that came up with inventions when they woke up out of their sleep. They got a download when they were sleeping, and then they woke up, and then they knew things. They didn't go to no school. They didn't study anything. It was naturally given to them, like the netu, what our ancestors were called. So yeah, so he told me telepathically, go into the room behind me, but I hesitated. So when I hesitated, he levitated me out of the seat that I was sitting, and the door opened. This, which I know now, what Saba said, because Saba teaches that he's the doorway, and I'm also a teacher. I'm a servant, or a servant of the Saba. So our ancestor opened the door, and I levitated into that room. And when I levitated into the room, there were green energy that was covering the entire space that I was in. I couldn't see no ceilings. I couldn't see no floor. That's how huge the room was. And there were speakers that were so big I can't even explain how big it is. But I remember the humming noise that I was hearing, and I remember when I watched X-Files, the movie, at the ending of the movie, when they went into the ship, that was the same humming noise frequency noise that I was hearing. And I was reading the other day with the stele of Ptah, and on the side there were ears. There ears on the side of the stele of the image of Ptah, and the ears could represent this frequency, these speakers that I was hearing. So he left me in the room. He left me in the room, and when I was in the room, it was the feeling was so never beautiful that I wanted to stay. I wanted to stay there. I didn't want, to be honest with you, I didn't want to come back. That's how beautiful it was, with that green energy that was going through my body, and that sound frequency. And remember, I told you I was ignorant at that time. I was in a beastly state. I didn't know. If you came to me telling me anything about African indigenous culture, I would have quote 100 scriptures to tell you that, oh, they're Nephilim and they're come up with all these stories that were created from the Freemasons, that say that they're the holy men in the Bible. Well, we know now that these were Freemasons that put the Bible together to control the masses. They took the stories from the Enuma Elish and from the Ashra Hasis and from the Per Hemeru and all them other steles, and then they created those 66 books, what you call today the Bible. So yeah, so while I was levitating in that room, which was the most beautiful thing I in my cot. The cot means your body, because the spirit is feminine. It's not masculine, it's feminine. Samawi Tawi is a name for Kemet, and we know that according to the ancestors that we're birthed through a woman, and when we leave here, you go back through the physical Pisces, that frequency, which is the woman, which is Ma'at. So yeah, so if anybody else have experienced it, it'd be, you can talk about it as well. But it was the most beautiful feeling that I have ever felt. It felt better than sex. that feeling I experienced. So eventually I fell asleep I fell asleep in that UFO, that UAP. And when I woke up back in my physical my body, when I woke up in my physical body, all the fear of death was gone. It was yeah, it was gone totally. It it was gone. So what my ancestors did, they healed me. And I realized that too. A lot of men that have this insecurity of trying to control women is because of that. It's because of the fear of death. So when I came back, because at that time I was single, I asked for a sign. At that time, I was calling what I call God. And when I asked for the sign, when I went outside, an asteroid flew down from the sky. I can't remember if it looked like the same color of the when you cross, when you cross the walkway, the zebra crossing, and also the zebra crossing is also where they get that from, is from when you go into the afterlife, when you die. That's where they get that from. So yeah, so when I went outside, two ladies was walking in front of me. Two so-called Hispanic ladies was walking in front of me. The reason why I say so-called is because when the Spanish conquered these countries, the colonizer, when he conquered these countries, he's the one that gave Nixon. I think Nixon was the one that came up with that term Hispanic. Yeah. So when I saw it fly down, and it looked, I think it was, I can't remember. I think it was green, blue, and yellow. It flew right down, and then it landed into a parking lot where I was staying at that time in Red Hook in Brooklyn. So I knew that was my sign for me to move on, because I was thinking that things was gonna go back the way it was, but it didn't. So then after that, I had another upesh, a dream, where I saw a box, and I crawled into the box. And when I crawled into the box, I was in a house. I was in a house, and I was walking around in this house. And then I realized later on that house or the word house also is het in the hieroglyphics. So I realized that house that I walked in through, that box, that small box, was a place where I was I started to work as a personal assistant for a person. He's passed on now, named Henry Golightly. So yeah, so that was a turning point. And even at that time, I still was searching for, I still was into Christianity, but I started teaching that the Holy Spirit was female. I started teaching that when I was on the street, when I was on the trains. Yeah, I used to go out in the street and I used to and preach, right? So I was saying that the Holy Spirit was a female, because when you go into the book of Proverbs, and the book of Proverbs was taken from an indigenous African culture as well. It was taken from Amanopi. If you look up the Shesh, the writings of Amanopi, you'll see that it's identical to the book of Proverbs. So David, which is really Senahu, um, that he did not write those proverbs. They were taken from the Par'is, which were the pharaohs. Yeah. So in the book of Proverbs, I think it's the fourth chapter. Can't remember, or the seventh chapter, but it tells you that wisdom is a she, and it says she cries out in the highways and the byways to ye men. That's Ma'at that's talking about. So I started teaching that, even though I started teaching that the Holy Spirit was a female, was feminine, a feminine energy, and yeah, I started even, I started doing that, and then I went and I did a ritual that I learned. Um, if you want to know how to do it, I'll rather you get guidance, or have a one-to-one with Tahuti, because I don't want to mislead anybody right now, but it's because maybe because my sincerity at that time is the reason why these things worked. So I did a ritual, and when I did the ritual, again I saw the same lights that I told you before, like the asteroids that came down, but 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 this time the lights was on a rectangle box, where it had these three shining lights, and on these three shining lights, while I was there, and I saw my if I say my soulmate, I left her at that time, who I never have, I physically haven't met in this physical realm, but I met her before I went into that rectangle box. It sucked me into the box, and when I was sucked into the box, I saw myself inside a cave. I was inside a cave, and inside this cave, I was being formed. And there was a white light that was covering me. No, it wasn't a white light. The white light was on the wall when they was reforming me. But I realized at that time, yeah. So I didn't see anybody. I heard the voices, but I never saw anybody. But I saw myself physically being made, from my eyes, my arms, my legs, everything. Even they made a mistake, and then they took me like clay and threw me on this white canvas wall. And when they threw me on the canvas wall, they molded me again, and then took me off the wall. And I physically could feel everything that they were doing. But thanks to the ancestors, that they prevented me from feeling the pain of what the change, that, or the alteration that they were doing to me in a conscious state. So I was created from a conscious state into a physical state in this, if it was a cave or a gateway or a portal that I was in. And then I saw myself being created. Everything, my whole entire body was created. And when I was created, after I was created, when I started walking out of the cave that I was in, I felt like a god. I felt like so-called God, what the Greeks were called the ancestors gods. I felt like a god, and I was walking upright. I was walking upright, and when I walked out of the cave, I saw a group of people that was with me, that I was able to communicate with. And when I looked over, like, because it looked like I was in a crater. The place looked like a crater that I was in. So it had a lower level, and on top there were other beings that I saw like me, and I saw them. I saw them. They was jumping up and down and stuff on top. Thousands of them. I was able to speak to the clan that I was with, or the group that I was with, telepathically. And my expressions when I was talking to them, the grunting was the way that we express our thoughts. Our expressions was our thoughts, with the grunting, with the mind. So when I came out, I saw a perfect square table that was created, and I don't think the beings that were created did that. I think the ancestors that are the ones that created this perfect square table. And when I came out, I was told that I was supposed to mate with another person that was in a cave to the left of me. To the left, there was another cave where the square table was. So I was waiting there, but then eventually I came out of the trance. I remember this wasn't a dream. This was a trance that I went in, because I was awake when this happened. I was awake, but because of the ritual I did, it put me in. It raised my frequency, so I was able to do this. And what's weird about it? The same day, when I went across the street, I was going to the store to buy some things from the store where Hunter's College is, on 68th Street and Lexington Avenue in Manhattan. I saw a European, a Tamahu, was in a suit and tie, very, very strong build, and I was walking back from the store. My back. I was walking back from the store, and he was walking down the other side. He called me a monkey. Right as he walked by. So at that time, I told you I was ignorant. So I started calling him every name in the book you can call a European. And he didn't say nothing to me. He just walked right by, and he was even like 300 feet away from me, and I was even shouting at him, and he just ignored me. But I was like, wow. When I went home, I looked at myself, I was like, you know what? That's a coincidence that I had that upesh. I mean, I had that vision that I had, or that trance, and then he says that what he said to me. So that was also explained to me when I was younger. I used to suffer from I had meningitis when I was younger. I think I could have caught it from that vaccine that they used to give you. If you remember that vaccine that they used to give you, it was called a BCG shot. That they used to give to children that was in school. You have used 200 of your data. Okay, but I got it for 24 hours. Yeah, so I used to also get sores, cold sores on my lip, and I think that's what caused me to get meningitis. And thank to the Neteru that the only problem I have now is sometimes stuttering that I do, because I know other people that had meningitis that lost their legs, they can't even, they're retarded. So, but that pain that I went through, when eventually when I did my research, when I got older, I realized that was what created me, or upgraded me. Because now through my research, I found out that through Tahuti and through the Tahuti podcast, that we were upgraded by the Anunnaki, which in the Bible they like I said before, if you want to still believe in the Epstein files, elite, that they were the fallen angels, which according to our ancestors of Egypt, Kemet, they were revered and they were honored. So you have negative and positive beings, but regardless of that, what I went through was a past life experience that I was the trauma that I was going through at that age, and it was working through that meningitis that I had, which is what they use, which is fire, earth, air, and water, which is also what you read in the Bible, the fear of God. So, yeah, and I don't wish that on anybody, that experience, but now I know that that's something. And I remember when I was younger, I remember because I used to be afraid to go to sleep by myself because of what I used to see when I closed my eyes. Yeah, I always used to, before I went to sleep, I used to slide down the slide, and when I slide down the slide, I was with these beings that look, that they look hairy. That hair, or they were hairy all over, and hair, yeah, and I used to be afraid of, because this thing was happening a lot of times whenever I used to go into, when I used to go into the dream state. But now I realize, when I told you later on in my life I did that ritual, and I realize now that was those beings that, according to the missing link that they're saying, that how these hominids that wasn't able to do any of these things, then all of a sudden there was this big leap in progress that they was able to do. And now according to these books that what I first read was Zachariah Sitchin, but I realized that a lot of things he misinformed the people as well. But those books are the origin of the stories of the Bible, and a lot of the and the Quran as well. Because when I first heard it was I want to give credit to, I can't remember what's his name, the brother, but it's a tall brother, and he has his hair in a knot. I can't remember his name, but he's the first one that I heard him talk about it, and also Tahuti brought it out that Allah was also one of the beings that was upgraded and rebelled against the Anunnaki at that time, because they didn't want to do the work that the Anunnaki upgraded them to do. So let me make sure I keep my train of thought. Yeah, so then I realized that these things related. These things was related to what? To a future timeline that I experienced. Yeah, so the point I'm trying to bring out is that, yeah, if these things were not true, why are they hiding it? And why are they demonizing these things, making it? And the word demon, this means intelligent. Look up the word in the etymology. It means intelligent. Why are they making these things into Seba'u fiends, which are a lot of these people that are using the knowledge, but they're using it for isfet, for chaos, or so-called evil, which is the negative side of nature. Why are they hiding these things from us? And meanwhile, you realize that most of these organizations and most of these inventions that are on the earth is not new. They learned these things from, like I said before, indigenous African culture. But so now we're finding out that the reason why they're hiding these things is because they know where the power lies. That's where the power lies, within that, the heka, the magic. Like Gabriel Yuba told me, and it kept with me, where he said the word black magic is not wasn't a negative meaning, because the word black magic was the black people that was able to find a stone, and they was able to they had the technology to make it into nug, into gold. So that's what the word black magic means. So yeah, so we're living in a magical world. Heka, magic, which is a young boy pointing to a saw, pointing to his mouth, because we're created from frequency, from the word. You know, like it says, in the beginning was the word. That's what creates us. Sound and light frequency, because we are light beings. I wonder if anybody has any questions or anything. Questions? Let me see this person. Let me move that. Anybody have any questions about what I was talking about? So even, what I realized also is that the things that you go through, if it's negative or it's positive, there ain't no devil that there's no devil that's doing that's the negative side. Because if you check out my last life, the story of the war in heaven, which was on earth, because the earth Geb is in heaven. We're in heaven right now. The war is day of Michael, which his name originally is Micah, and if you are interested to find out the secret meanings, which are, like I told you before, this information has been here. It's not new. There's nothing new that I'm telling you. It's only new because these people have coveted this information to the point where they became Isfet and chaos. It's like, for example, a person that like you hear about people coming up with inventions and people stealing their inventions. Like a lot of these Tamil, these Europeans stole people's inventions. That's the same thing they did with when they went into these ancient artifacts that was all over Africa and even all over the world, but mainly Africa, because of the grid line where our ancestors strategically put the so-called pyramids, which is not a pyramid, it's called the Mer Aku, which you are, which also points to where heaven is, which is also inside of you. And and also when I started speaking about that the Holy Spirit is a feminine energy, and it's non-gender, because trees give birth, and it's not talking about the non-gender where someone saying that they're not male or female. I'm talking about in regards to the trees, lions, tigers, ants, all these things give birth. Give birth. So that birth and energy I'm talking about, which is called the car, which is the spirit. I was always used to go into the what you call the scriptures, and I realized certain scriptures was triggering me, like the one in Proverbs. I think it's Proverbs 2, 2nd chapter, where it says the wise man's eyes are in his head. And then there's another one which says, if you're in darkness but your eyes single, is full of light. And then there's a scripture when in in I think St. John the 8th chapter, when the Pharisees and the Sadducees was accusing Jesus. And why I say Jesus, not Yahshua, because the Septuagint is older than the Masoretic text, and that is the espionage, and that is the what they're trying to, people now are trying to talk about. Oh no, the Masoretic text, the Hebrew is the original language. And when you realize that this language was created after, in later on in the AD period. So how is that the original language? Huh? So I realized that, yeah, that the Septuagint, which was created by the Greeks, that was servants that learned under the Par'i, the pharaohs and the scribes, which at that time they couldn't even talk. We're the ones, people of indigenous, of the indigenous cultures, the ones that taught them. And it wasn't there was not the Moors. They were Kemetic. They called themselves Kemetic people. Like I said before, from the sun, the black sun, which Kem, the word Kem means complete. And Saba said, Tahuti said in the class that we just had with a question that was sent in, that it comes from the word Kemanu, which is the number 8, which is the Mayhem, which they use that, the snake eating its tail. They use that now as something, like I said, something negative. And the reason why they do that is to scare you away from who you really are. That's the reason why they're hiding this information. Yeah, so I was, when I used to go, when I went into St. John, when I was reading St. John, I'm just trying to give you a background of what my experiences was, where it led me to where I am now. So in St. John, he says, Jesus, like I said before, is a Septuagint, which comes from the Greeks, said that you seek and judge. The one that's seeking the truth, he seeks and he judges. It's not only you just go into a church, but know that you are the church, the temple of the word God is within you. So these scriptures, so I realized that the way what Christ, which is really the Koras, which is the inside of the Sahu, what they call the sarcophagus, that these people were ignorant, where they thought that they was gonna get power. They was gonna get power from from the Sahu, these tombs that they found. They were eating the mummies. They was eating the mummies. So what they're telling you in the Epstein files is not new. That was something that was going on back files, before that information was brought out. Because they thought they just had pouches that they were doing that. Go and look it up. If you look up the word sarcophagus and look up the word mummy. So yeah, so he said, so Christ, like I said, in the Karas, which is the inner part of you, which our ancestors, the part used to put inside the Sahu, which is the sarcophagus, which is like an egg, because remember, as above, so below. You came down here in a sack inside your mother, in the feminine, and you was in your mother for 9 months, and the same thing what happens when you leave here. And how you might say, how do they know these things? Because when you if you know the original story where they took about immortality came from what the Greeks called Osiris, which real name was Osar. which in the Bible is Lazarus. He was the first one to resurrect from the dead. It wasn't Jesus was not the first one to resurrect from the dead. Or that story was that story, the original story of the resurrection, and that's how our ancestors knew about what happens to you after you maat, after you die. And then they wrote this down, which according to our ancestors was Tahuti, and that's why people do this, which is the finger. This is really the finger of Tahuti, which you call which is in the Pert Hem Haru. And Tahuti has classes, magic classes, that he did. He has 66 classes that you can, if you come to a Tahuti pod class, that he will share to you with a price. Nobody's doing this because because a lot of people think when we was in heaven, because heaven on earth was right here in Africa. The Nile Valley culture, the Nile Valley people, these are the descendants of the people which the Greeks call gods. And if you look at the tree, you look at the river Nile from the cataracts coming down, it looks like a tree, like the tree of life. You read in the Bible or in the Quran. Yeah, so Asar, which his brother Set, where now the CIA, I found out that the CIA are the ones that created these organizations to like I said, to cause isra and chaos, and to make you think that there's something evil what I'm talking about. When without the story of Osar and the story of his brother Set that murdered him, where you get in the story of Cain and Abel, which is an older story than that. Even in the Ashra Hasis, it tells you, or in the Numa Alish, those clay tablets that they found, it talks about these stories. So like I said again, Set murdered his brother Osar, our beloved Osar, and his wife, which his name. And guess what? In the magic classes that I learned, it even gives you the name which they got Mary's, which is really Marie, husband's name from, which was Osar. So Mary, which is Marie, which the Greeks called Isis, which the Romans even worship as well. But like I said again, they couldn't be disciplined. They wasn't disciplined, and they didn't lead with the left, which is your heart, because your heart is on your left hand side. They didn't lead with their left, and they didn't lead with their heart. They went into Isfet, but they used certain terms of the Netru, which mastered nature, because the school teacher really is nature. They mastered nature, but then they perverted it. So what they call Isis, which in the Medunetta was called you can't stop this, man. I'm just telling you right now. I'm so in awe, and I'm so happy that our ancestors, the Neteru, woke me up to know that I am a Neta, and that this is what makes me happy. Is talking about our beloved Osar, which they call Osiris, which they also talked about in the Bible, Nimrod. That yeah, I mean, I know I was a Christian, so I know all the what the things that they used to talk about, that he was chopped up into pieces, and then his mother, which really was his sister, because these beings came down. The nine were these. This is called the time of the Zet Tepi. This would which is the step pyramid. That these being that, and the Akumas that even to this day they can't duplicate. So in that time, this which is they're saying is 40,000 years, and the reason why is because of there's a lot of artifacts which they, like again they copied what you call the Stonehenge, but these stones they found in South Africa, that they're able to know the time and from doing carbon data and stuff like that. And these sciences didn't come up, the Tamahu, the Europeans didn't come up with these sciences. These sciences came from our ancestors. So when Set, like what I was saying, so they took the word Set and then they turned it into the word Satan. So that guy LeVay, he's the one that started the satanic Bible, which our ancestors never called. If you could go and look for yourself, don't stop taking what people want this new age stories, what people are teaching, because I remember when I was in London, when I was at a young age, when I used to be hanging out in North London, we used to go into Maybank open space, and if anybody sees this video, you can write in the comments that what I'm saying is true, that they were teaching young European Tamahus the new age information. They used to go in Maybank open space in the back, and they used to have meetings, and the people that I remember clearly was the mods. They used to wear green coats, long green trench coats, and on the trench coats was the symbols of the peace signs and all these symbolism that they use in the New Age movement. These are the things that they were taught. So this was an agenda that they were pushing back then with the skinheads, with the mods and the punks back then. And I remember because that was in the area where I used to live, so I used to go out there and I used to hang out and I used to see them when they were there. So, yeah, and these people knew what they were doing. It was strategic because they knew the culture of our ancestors. But what they did, like Saba said, they twisted it. They twisted the information. So yeah, so LeVay, he changed the word from Set to Satan, and I think a few weeks ago, if you check Tahuti podcast on Saturdays, someone sent in a question, and Saba, because he has the eye of Ma'at, you have to give credit when Henu and praise when credit is due. If he didn't show me, I would not have seen that. That in the background, they had images of the pharaohs, statues of the pharaohs in the background in the picture. So the point I'm trying to make is that these people are using the stories, the ancient indigenous stories, and then they're twisting it, and they're making stories about Satan, because the word Set, S-E-T, that's where they get Satan from. And then they tell you that he was come up with all these stories that you now, it's really a blessing that this information is coming out about the Epstein files and all that, because now you can go within now and go and do your own research. Stop relying. Stop putting your trust in this system, and start going and do your own research now, and go within. You can't change the system, but you could change yourself, and that's the most important thing. So if you're interested in things, give the reciprocity, give the whole tech to Saba, so you can anyway, and also if you go there, we got at least Tahuti has classes that going even to 4 years. He has classes that's going on. So yeah, like I said, so they took the story of Set murdering Osar, and then they made Satan, the Church of Satan, and then one of his leaders, where Tahuti also has another class that he went into. You could go on YouTube and check it out. They explained that he went into a new church now called the Church of Set. And I even had a debate after I saw that class. I had a debate with someone on TikTok about that, about the Church of Set, and everything that Saba was showing, even in the Medinetta, in the hieroglyphics, about we have nine parts to our soul, and one of the parts of our soul is called the Kaibit, which is the shadow. Dear customer, your deal of the day. How's that? When I pay for 24 hours. But anyway, yeah, our soul, which is the bar and the car, has 9 parts to it, and one of the parts to it is called the Kaibit, which is your shadow. So now they took that part. That's why you realize in the Church of Set and the Church of Satan, and even Saba shows, because he did his research. People send in the questions, and Tahuti, he answered the questions and shows all the information and the archaeology and everything. So it's not like he's just making it up like some people do. You could go and get the information and go and do your own research, and you'll see what he's telling you. That the guy was a seer. His name is Michael. I can't remember his last name, but anyway, he broke off, and now he started his own organization, talking about. And if you realize that a lot of people that they say that they worship Satan, they wear all black. They're saying that's the color of the soul. Where they're right, which is a part of your soul is called the shadow, which is the shadow, your shadow, which is the Kaibit. But the problem is that they twist it. They're twisting the information. They're using the information for Isfet and chaos. Because if you go back into the Per Emheru or any of the indigenous writings, you can't see nothing about that. About no Satan and all this nonsense that these people are believing in now. Because when you go in the story, Set was the first one to defeat the negative side of nature, which they call in Greek Apophis, which is a apep, which is a being from the negative side of nature that Ra, the sun, at night. When you read in the book of the Amduat, these are also ancient records that, like I said before, is nothing new. These information has been here thousands and thousands of years ago. Our ancestors mastered nature and left this information for us to know. That when you go into the Amduat, when he's on the Atet boat, there's a boat that they're on. These beings, like you said, God is a spirit, right? So these beings, what the Greeks call gods, at night in the Amduat, fight against a pep, to bring balance in the world, in the universe. Yeah. So how is Set against Set is going because that's what the guy on TikTok was trying to tell me. He says he believes in Satan and Set is with a pep. So I try my best not to miss any of these classes. These classes are hidden treasures, and this is what this world, these economies are using. When you see the phatic, the people want to say that the phatic, they want to say, and it's always these religious people that do that, saying that the phatic, which is a representation of the penis, which represents fertility, is evil. How can that be evil? Like Sabbath said, Tootie said that the male is the one that creates the placenta. The male is the one that creates the male gender in the woman, in the feminine energy. So how is that evil? So our ancestors knew these things, and that's the reason why they created these things for your memory, for you to remember your seket memory. Because your consciousness, our ancestors want your consciousness to live on through your dream state, which is your trial state, which is where you die at night, for you to, so that you can mut and you can live on in the afterlife with that immortal consciousness, so that you can escape the second death. So you show me in the Perhemeru where Set was even though he murdered his brother, even though he tried to murder Heru, but Heru, his mother, or Set, what you call Mary, which is Marie, hid him, and then eventually when he got older, he went and had a war. He went and had a war or a competition against Set for 80 years. So the story in Revelations, when it talks about it was thousands of years and Michael was fighting the dragon, is that story, they twisted that story. Because the thousands of years, that's talking about against Apep. Like I said before, the negative side of nature. But the war that he had with Heru only lasted 80 years. 80 years. So, and nobody's stopping this, man. The time we're in now, the 25,800 cycle that we're in right now, which is the age of Aquarius. We're coming out of Pisces and we're into Aquarius. Things are, you see. That's why you see what's going on right now. Certain things you just have to stay in your frequency, which is what they call your chakras, which our ancestors call the May or the Mayhus, which is in your body, and raise your frequency. But there's nothing evil about the lower frequency, because without the lower frequency you cannot have stability. But you're supposed to raise that energy to the I wind, to that blue healing energy that you are. So yeah, so he couldn't really say anything. He kept saying, oh, but I know because I be practicing this. Yeah, of course you could practice something, but you also need a guide. That's why I henu and give dua to Tuhuli, my Saba, because you need a guide, and you should swallow your ego. A lot of us, what I just told you, is the red, which is your so-called shaka, the New Age term, which they never tell you unless a Kemetic teacher or someone that, and even these Kemetic teachers that are, a lot of them are atheists. They just believe in principles. They don't believe that our ancestors were living beings, which I've seen with my eyes. That these are living beings. So yeah, so these are the Mayhus that's inside our body, and it's actually written in the Perhemeru. They call them the Sekef, which means 7. Yeah, and our ancestors are the ones that started mathematics as well. Ma'at. They're the ones that started mathematics. Mathematics did not start in Europe. They learned and they copied, and then they plagiarized, and then they put European Tamihu scholars and said that they're the ones that invented these things. These things are part of our ancestors. Like I said before, the Netru that learned it from nature. That was able to extend their life. Maybe we be able to extend our life also. and we also did surgeries back then too. It's not like because we were so advanced that we didn't have a culture, and we didn't have a work ethic. We had a work ethic, but you get paid according to your wage. It's not like today that you have to you rely on a system to tell you how much you want to pay for something you do. You're the one that come up with that wage, and these things all align to the subsidy, which is the Sirius star, and that's the reason why they in the tombs they had the heck and the coup, which when you read in the Bible, it talks about the shepherd that separates the sheep from the goat. They got that from the pharaohs, the Par-Ees, and the is Nebtet and Oset. They're the ones that raise your. You need a feminine energy to raise your frequency, because the spirit is feminine. It's not masculine. That's another lie. The man was first, and then the woman came from the rib. That's only in the fairy tale, what you call the Bible, or the Quran. When you go into the hieroglyphics, the Medu Neter, the divine words of Tahuti, like I said, the word Yah, it tells you, it specifically tells you that we came from the feminine energy. Yeah, so why they not telling you that? Huh? Why they not telling you that immortality was taught? It was a teaching that we were taught, that we are immortal beings that are experiencing a physical experience, and that your consciousness can live on, but you can lose your Saket memory, and that's what we're striving for. Stop worrying about what people think about you, because really nobody cares. If people really care, there will be no homeless people on the street around the world. If people really care, then people will be uniting right now and trying to build their own, build and break bread with each other. If they really cared, then they would tell you that reciprocity is which is helping one another is one of the main things for part of your resurrection as well. To keep you connected to your ancestors. So you can like and subscribe and give reciprocity. Just like if you go, and I also do it too. It's not like I'm telling you something that I don't do. I try my best to give reciprocity. I give, which is money. I give what they call hotep, which is an altar with food on, for us to have a connection with our ancestors, which are our parents, to which they want to call guardians. Our guardians are our ancestors. So like I was saying, the war will only last. No, I'm not saying it. I mean, according to our ancestors, and according to the Shesh, the Paparis, and which it is so coveted right now that they lock it up into museums. And this is the information that this world is the way it's running from our ancestors thousands and thousands of years ago. That's how advanced our ancestors were, because they learned from nature. Yeah, so that's how we knew through the woman, through Marie, from where they got the word Mary from, because she's the one that resurrected, and Ampul, the son of Set, which which was from Nebhet, assisted Oset and was able to resurrect Osar, what they called Osiris, what they lied about in the Bible called Nimrod. And then she was able to she had sex with him, and then she was pregnated. So that's where they get the Immaculate Conception from. that holy reunion from, is where our ancestors was on such a was on a high level that they was able to do these things. If you read the story of the contending of Set and Heru, and you see these magical Heka feats that they were able to do. But they're not gonna, like I said before, you need to start looking within. Start going within, and even in the if you really understand the story of Christ, that's what he was talking about. He was talking about the kingdom that is within you. That's when you go in the book of Luke, the 17th chapter. It tells you when the Pharisees came to him asking him where the kingdom of heaven is. He said the kingdom of heaven is not of observation. It's not of, oh, you're going to see it here or you're going to see it there. He said the kingdom of heaven is within you. And I've seen it with my eyes, with my Saket eyes. I've seen it. So I know what I'm saying. I know personally, I know where they got the information on, where these fraternities was able to build these Masonic orders from our ancestors. Memory of Set when Osar died, and then Tahuli, which is Yah, where you get Yahweh from, wrote these things down for us on stone, what they call glyphs, hieroglyphs, on the heretic words that they wrote down for us. And when you study these things, these divine the metal words, they unlock what's within you. So you want to know what's the hidden handshakes and all these things that they're doing? That's what it is. It's the ancient indigenous stories that's been here for thousands and thousands of years that they're using, but they're hiding it from the public. The Tamahu, these Europeans, and even a lot of the black organizations are hiding it as well. When these things should be taught in school to our children. Our children are supposed to be taught all three. Like Tudi said, we're not liquid. I mean, we're not solid, then liquid and gas. That's wrong. That's incorrect. It's the opposite way. We were gas. We're gas, liquid, and then we're solid. Then we became solids because we came from the what they call the heaven, the Netzaka. So without the woman, and she was the petty, she's the seat. Without the woman, Marie, or Set, and when you go in and the word Marie means love, because that's where we came from, the land of love, which was Tam Marie, what the Greeks call Egypt. And she knew Heka, she knew the science, so that's why she was able to do this. So without Marie raising her husband, we would not know how to Saket, to escape the second death, to become complete. The word Kemet means to be complete, to have your hands crossed. Not what Wakanda, but the Wakanda is the Hek and the Ku. To understand agriculture, that agriculture is also as above and below as well. Everything related to the spiritual, which is the Ankh, which is the breath of life, and it also represents into the physical as well. So everything was related. That's what our way of life was. That how we lived our life. It was both. It wasn't just only going to a church on Sunday. It was something that we did every single day. When we woke up, even and when we went into the Upesh, even in the Rezi, that you wanted to wake up in your sleep. So that's where you get your dreams. That's where you get your jewels from, in your sleep state. This is something that our ancestors knew about thousands and thousands of years ago. But it's unfortunate now, but now we know where things have been being brought out, that these people are using these things and scaring you. There's no, you can, if you go into the Papris and into the Shesh, you could leave a message, and you could show me where anything about a Baphomet. There's nowhere in the past where our ancestors talk about any Baphomet or any of these things that you see that they're using and saying that the fallen angels and all this nonsense that they're talking about. These people are the fallen angels. This system that want to use the information for isfet and chaos. They're the ones that's doing that. They're the ones that are being Seba'u fiends, not our ancestors. Our ancestors dedicated to immortality. The whole life was based on it. That's why they have the Hek and the Ku. That's why they had their hands crossed, because they wanted to become Kem. They wanted to become the black sun, which is Ra, to become complete. To be like you read in what you say in your prayer of Jesus, right? On earth as it is in heaven, which is Geb. Which Geb was also the custodian of the earth. Which the land, the tar, the word tar means is feminine. The land is feminine, but the earth is being governed by a netter. His name is Geb. These are the 9 beings that came down from the waters of Nu. What the ancestors said, the waters, what you call in chemistry, which is hydrogen. Which you read in the Bible in Genesis, and when you read in John, where it says the word. That's where we came from. And that's not 6,000 years ago. That's a lie. That's another isfet and a lie to throw you off. And you show me, because you show me that, because when you go into the into the shesh that was made from the lily, the lotus flower, that information is thousands of thousands. It predates any religion. And like I said before, if it is so evil and so negative, why are they hiding it? And why most of these things, these organizations and companies have these labels that they're using? They're using the Heka, they're using the magic. Why? If it's so evil. So this is a great time, man. You need to, when it comes to this system, you need to let go and start doing your research. And there's people out here, like I said, we have Tutti podcast that's free to watch. We have 3 to 4 years of information that Tahuti, you could send in any question you want. If you can't answer the question, like I asked him about the Epstein files. I sent reciprocity Hotep to him to answer it. He said he cannot answer it. But you could send in reciprocity and send in money, and like I said, it wasn't money that we're using now, but we use a form of money, which energy that we to barter with each other before. It's nothing new, and people used to work back then as well. Because I know that you're gonna come with that with the story about the lion and the lamb. Well, the lion and the lamb is talking about the field of reeds, and that's a place that you have to keep your Saket memory when you go into the afterlife. When you mutt, which is your mother, go back to your mother through the Vesica Pisces, which is the woman's womb. Go back into the womb, and then it's a place of imagination called the field of reeds, the Seket Aru. That's what that's talking about. It's not talking about here on earth. Because you can go right now to a lion and see what happens to you. And you put a lion with a lamb, you see what happens. so the Irie, which is the eye, which like I said before, what they got from Marvel, and the word Marvel, when you go into the classes that Saba has on Mondays, the magic classes that you can send in reciprocity, and I'll leave the information below so that you can get access. We're not trying to hide. I'm not trying to hide anything from you. I'm trying to just be forthright, because I want this information. I want you to share this information. I want us to able to become together, and so that we can help our offspring, our children, so that Because you see what's they're saying, what's going on with our children now, because of the innocence that our children have, that they're taking advantage of our children, especially in these so-called third world countries. They're only third world countries because of the interest rate and the taxes are so high that these so-called companies are, I mean, countries are taken advantage of right now. Yeah, so like I said, this is the reason why they're hiding this information, because this information is 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 um is a hidden treasure. Is the hidden treasure. The knowledge, this second consciousness, because it also can make you live on after 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 you leave here. So it's a happy time, man. You should be happy. You should be glad, and that and know that our ancestors are not playing, man. Imagine if our ancestors was like us, like they just want to do it only on Sundays. You imagine what a pet would have done already to our universe already, if our ancestors never tried to bring that balance, and also the other ancestors that were physically on earth but now are light as a feather on the judgment of the Ma'ati, of the scales. Because that's the judgment what you read in these religious texts is talking about. Because really your soul, your bar in your car is, and your 9 parts are lighter than a feather. You are a pure consciousness. So yeah, so give give reciprocity, give a like and subscribe, so that I could continue doing this and support Tahuti podcast and the House of Atan, which means the ancient Tahutian teaching of the Netru. And yeah, so support support financially if you want me to continue doing this information. And like I said before, I will also go into the writings into the Shesh, and reveal how important the Tahuti, the hieroglyphics, the metal words, the divine words of the Netters is very important for your journey. And it's not a religion; it's religious. This is a way of life. It's the way that our ancestors lived. So like and subscribe, and please support the House of Atan. Please support Tui's podcast. Please support Maharu. And let's put our heads together and find out ways for us to be able to bring this information out, this beautiful Nefer information out of our ancestors, and stop worrying about what people think about you. And stop worrying about these people that are just copycats. People are afraid to go on live and speak Ma'at because they think that they're going to get ridiculed. Who cares what people think? Why about what our ancestors think about you, which is inside of you? Yeah, like I was saying also, with in Corinthians, where it says, because a lot of people we want to go to these religious churches, when he said that the kingdom of heaven, 1 Corinthians 3:16, is inside of you. You are the temple. And then there's another scripture that woke me up was 2 Corinthians. I mean, it woke me up to what I know. I learned from Tahuti when he had the debate. Now they're saying it wasn't a debate with Jabari about whether the Netru was real. Because I was told from before, Sakai is the one that used to tell me about it, but he was believing that they were principles as well. So it didn't make sense to me. How can the Netru mass, they're supposed to be the gods, but they're only principles. And then when Tahuti in the debate, which a lot of these people I believe they're part of fraternities. It's the reason why they're sworn to secrecy, or it might be just out of ignorance that they don't want to bring these things out. Like I told you before in the beginning, I told you I was taken up into a UFO. I've seen UFOs. I was given signs and wonders. I've seen the young boy that came to me. Heck, I've seen these things. I've seen physically. I've seen things physically. It's not only in the Upesh, but I have also seen things physically as well. Because we're in a magical world, and that should be a good thing. That you should know that hey, this world lives on. Yeah. So give your Hotep, because it's very important to keep that connection with your ancestors. Don't be ashamed, because I realize a lot, even in Africa, you got a lot of people that are ashamed of their ancestors because of the colonizer. They still believe the colonizer is their God, their savior. And I was shocked when I came over to Africa and I saw people worshiping Serapis, what you call Jesus, the Tamahu, and I'm not being biased, because they got Tamahu Europeans coming out and telling you what I'm telling you, what I'm saying, that the Netru were indigenous people. They were so-called black people. They look like Sudanese, people from Sudan, because a lot of this information, that's where it came from this is Nile Valley culture. This is not what I'm saying. You could go and do your research, and there's Europeans that tell you that's how the Netru, what the Greeks called, and what our ancestors put on the walls to show you. Yeah, so like I was saying, in 2 Corinthians 10, 4 and 5, it says that you are Christ as well. That's what it says. Christ with an S. Because our ancestors, that's what they put themselves in the Karas, in the wrappings, for you to able to resurrect your Seket memory. Because your memory is what is your memory, which is part of your car and your bar, is immortal. So you don't get immortality from believing in Jesus. That story was taken from ancient African indigenous people. And there's nothing isfet or evil about it, but people are using it for that. It's just like I could take a knife, and I could cut a piece of steak with a knife, but I also could take that same knife and I could kill somebody with that same knife. I could also drink water, too much water, to the point I can flush the Na, the sodium, out of my body and die. So it depends on how you use it, how you ma'at, how you use how your standard, how you use the information, and it's and it, and what it is, a lot of these people, man, they got the power and they're just abusing it. That's all. There's nothing wrong with nature, because that's what our ancestors, that's what the hieroglyphics is talking about, nature, and telling you how it relates to you resurrecting. But nature, you see a lion tear a gazelle apart. It might look evil, but it's part of nature. But not the nature of the point what they're doing. There's nothing wrong with you copying what our ancestors did, but give credit. Give henu, give praise, give reciprocity, give financial support to our people that's coming out here doing this information. You give it to these singers and these rappers, and you see what they're doing with the money, and these actors. So why you can't give this someone that's teaching you the information of our ancestors? The frequency with which this frequency should be the most important thing. This is the most important thing that you should be focused on right now, because tomorrow's not promised. That's what the word nefer means. Beautiful. It also means long life. So you're supposed to live today, like, and put and focus on this as if this is your last, man. So give your respiratory, give your hotel, give your financial support, and stop looking at so-called Africa like this is the evil and all this stuff, because it's all a lie. They're just doing that because they just don't want you to be in that to know where the tree of life really is, which is here. The Nile Valley culture. They don't want you to know that. So your ancestors want you to be just like the eagle. Which what they call the buck in the hieroglyphics. So you could take your sakef, what the new age want to call the chakras, the seven, the mehu inside of you, and so you can fly and become a light, which you are. Light speed, with a greyhound, which is ample, to guide you. So anybody want to have any questions or answers, you can leave in the comments, or just hit me up. With reciprocity, I will kindly share what I was given as well, to the best of my ability. Because that, regardless of what you go through or what you have done, it's just part of your experience, your negative experience, that you have to turn into the positive. And stop believing what these people are telling you, man. These people that's in these religions, because all they're doing is just stealing what they took from Africa, and now they want to make into a religion, and then now they're making money off of our ancestors' information. Talking about the if you don't know, I'm going to tell you that when they're talking about Ham, where there's nowhere in the Metanetta, there's nowhere in the indigenous culture anybody was called Ham. What they want to say are African people are cursed people. I don't understand how an African person can follow the Bible or follow the Quran when they're saying that the African people are cursed people. When the most loving people on the planet are African people, so-called African, because African is just a province. You have different places in Tar. Tar, the word for land was Tar, which is feminine. Where the continents are called continents. We are the most loving people, most loving and indigenous people, the indigenous people of America as well, are the most loving people. But they're taking advantage of it, man. They're taking advantage of our love. If this information was taught in schools and stuff like that we're immortal beings, and teach the science, not just teach what they want to teach according to these fraternities, these secret fraternities, which is the Illuminati that they're teaching you to become. Tahuti did a class on it as well. The cap and gown, that's Masonic. When you become a Mason, that's what you wear. You wear the cap and the gown in black because of the Kaaba, which is your shadow, your shadow body. So stop being ashamed of your color, man. Your melanin, because that's how the Neteru looked. Neteru had melanin. What the Greeks call gods. Where the Greeks sat down, that couldn't even talk, sat down and worshipped our ancestors, which they called in one of their leaders, which Set Tepin Ray or Mark Kemet, what they call Alexander in the Bible. They don't tell you that in the Bible, right? That he gave Henu and he gave praise to the Neteru. So, like I said, they want to tell you what they want to tell you. But this is what I'm here for, and this is what the House of Atani is here for. And to tell you that our ancestors were living, breathing, flesh, skin, and bones, just like we are. Again, if you keep that Saket memory and don't want to experience, you don't want to be eaten, you don't want to be devoured by a pet, the negative side, or allow these negs or these parasites to keep feeding off your energy. Feed off the waters of the Nile, which is also as above, so below. Feed off of that. Well, again, I'll say our hymn that the House of Atan, what Tahuti Amun Hotep Ra teaches, which is Anke Ma'at Un NS Nin Te Oset En Ma'at Min Hepapet En Ma'at Her En Hu Kui Per Iku. I live for Ma'at. I exist within her. I do not speak in the place of Ma'at. Every day I advance towards Ma'at. My being is surrounded in darkness. I come forth as conscious light. Ubun Ra, rise and shine. Hopefully I'll be able to do another live and also do presentations again. Start doing presentations again. And check out Tahuti's podcast on Saturdays, and also he's on Killer Pre Show on Thursdays as well. And he started the magic classes Mondays again, which you can hit me up, and I'll give you the information to find out the prices of the classes, and if Saba, is okay for you to be a part of the classes. Hotep, the heart, the ib, which is also part of your heart, is part of your heart as well. Another part of your heart as well. Peace, Unc Ujar Sened. Peace.